I went home, turned on the computer. We'd been away for like 2 weeks and went right to Google. And I put fathers to be in brackets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take me to what the World Wide Web knows about fathers to be. And Google came back and said, no reference found.
Jeez.
Did you mean mothers to be? I didn't know whether to laugh or cry.
Crickets.
Really?
Yeah,
No reference.
Wow.
Google can't lie, right?
Wow.
So that was the starting point of digging in, because we knew society needed help.
Mm-hmm.
Because if dad's shortchanged, if he's afraid, if he's not engaged, involved, welcomed, then mom loses out, and so does the baby.
Yeah.
It's a team effort.
Welcome to Dedicated Joe, a podcast for men like me who want to get the most out of fatherhood. Because I discovered that being a dad can be more than just parenting or providing or surviving the chaos. Learn how I, every day, use being a dad to transform my identity and become the man I was meant to be. I'm your host, Joe Carr. Let's go. Well, welcome back, everybody. I have a very, very special guest today. They often say there is no handbook for being a father, and it turns out there is. This guy literally wrote the book for fathers and actually has grown successful children to prove that this really works. So really excited to have today Patrick Hauser. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Joe.
Turns out you're in Austin as well, so how nice is that?
Yes.
Yeah. So how did you get into this? Tell us your story. Like what turned you into a fatherhood expert, author, coach?
Family with 6 children. The successful family with 6 children.
Mm-hmm.
So I always knew I wanted to be a dad.
Mm.
And then,
so you had a dad that was raised 6 kids, and you all turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
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 So
yeah.
Like, okay. That's
and
a
then
cool job.
when kind of my time came, I found the woman. We traveled all over North America, lived different places and such, and then settled down in the Missouri Ozarks as we were pregnant.
No, I'm from Kansas City.
All right.
Yeah. Yes. Grew up skiing on the Ozarks.
Yeah. And then had a home birth, but it was a car crash.
Mm.
It was everything that could go wrong did go wrong. We had a midwife, and we were in the woods. We were in the middle of nowhere. But we were prepared, happy, wanting to have a family and all that. And then what we didn't understand, though, was the psychological component that is a big part of birth.
Yeah.
And so then a couple years after we sort of recovered from that birth, we started doing therapeutic work and discovered elements. What happened was my wife discovered that when she gave birth to our first son, she was re-experiencing her own birth. Her own birth came out of her emotionally. Yeah. That created that environment. So that happened in an age regression session, sort of like a hypnosis. And so that informed us that there was more to it. Yeah. And so then we began studying the field, which ultimately was named pre- and perinatal psychology, because it has to do with the psychology of how did we get to be this way.
Yeah.
And so then the healing and whatnot that we did in between, using various modalities, including breath work, brought us to a point of understanding, wow, we can do it better because we've cleared out the baggage and we're happy, prepared, we want another child and all of that. And so then a friend sent us a clipping from the National Enquirer, that rag, right, about waterbirth in Russia. We were pregnant a week later.
Whoa.
Is this a coincidence or a clue?
Yeah, right.
And this was, in 1980. So there was no internet. You couldn't do any reference.
And home birth was not a thing. Like it was like, almost completely radical at the time to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the first birth was home birth.
Right.
Back in the woods.
Yeah.
With
Which was
the illegal midwife.
Yeah.
You couldn't have midwifery in Missouri at the time.
Yeah.
So then we decided we were going to do a water birth. So I brought a jacuzzi pool into our garage that was attached to the house, and I built a birthing room and built a bed right next to it in case the wife decided this isn't for me. She wanted out. But it turned out it was a 90-minute labor, and it was phenomenal. And he was delivered into my hands. And we were all in bliss. And we filmed it. And then about a year later, we did the Phil Donahue show, which for those of you, he was pre-Oprah. You know?
Crazy. I was born in 81, so a little before my time, but
Right.
it sounds familiar. So you were very public about this.
Yeah, once
Home
after
birth.
the first year, we kept it kind of personal until then.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And so that just, informed me in my cells the value of birth and the importance and significance of that time, because we were doing rebirthing breath work as well, which it's called rebirthing because many people go back and re-experience their own birth.
Mm-hmm.
We were all there. How is it that we don't have a conscious memory of it? Well, the memory's there. It's just accessing it. Anyway, so that kind of led me into that journey, and I, was a hands-on father completely.
Yeah.
And then,
and this, to be clear, you were the first water birth ever documented in America.
Yeah, the first documented water birth. Yeah. We always put documented.
Yeah, I'm sure there's others, but
there's been indigenous possibilities, different things.
Yeah. But that's crazy. It's so common now that.
Yeah. And so then many, many years later, we divorced, and then I moved to England. And my wife there had a personal development business in about 4 different countries. It was pure spiritual psychology based. And one morning, one of the guys in my circle, a third-year student, said that he was brand new dad, and I was already a grandfather. And he just said, someday I'd like to work with expectant dads because it's been such a rich experience for me. Well, those words came out of his mouth, and every cell in my body woke up. I just looked at him.
That's a thing?
Yeah.
You could do that?
Yeah. After the meeting, it was like I just grabbed him by the collar and said, Elmer, we have to do this together.
Cool.
Which we did.
Huh.
But then I went home, turned on the computer. We'd been away for like 2 weeks, and went right to Google. And I put fathers to be in brackets, right? Mm-hmm. Take me to what the World Wide Web knows about fathers to be. And Google came back and said, no reference found.
Jeez.
Did you mean mothers to be? I didn't know whether to laugh or cry.
Crickets.
Really?
Yeah,
no reference.
Wow.
Google can't lie, right?
Wow.
So that was the starting point of digging in, because we knew society needed help.
Mm-hmm.
Because if dad's shortchanged, if he's afraid, if he's not engaged, involved, welcomed, then mom loses out, and so does the baby.
Yeah.
It's a team effort.
So that started yours. We got to create this. So you wrote the book, you do coaching, like what all do you offer?
Yeah. Well, we designed a 2.5-day course to take expectant dads.
Yeah, like a class.
Yeah. Then try to round up the expectant dads.
Right.
We couldn't find them.
It's pretty tough.
Yeah. It was really tough, especially then. This was almost 20 years ago.
They're not looking for it because they don't think it exists, because it didn't exist.
They didn't have
why
a
would they
clue.
look for it? Yeah. Interesting.
And they didn't know that they were going to have an experience that deserved to be supported. That's at the key of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because support.
Yeah. They thought of themselves as either not involved at all or just as a support themselves to their wife. Yeah.
And so we finally, a friend of ours who was a doula and a birth educator, she had couples class. And on Thursday, she said, all right, all you dads come back here on Saturday morning. Some friends of mine are running a dad's class. And they go, what's that? She goes, well, I don't know, but I really trust these guys. So we had 6 guys show up, and it was brilliant. And these are English 20-year-olds, right?
Wow, yeah.
And we were going deep psychologically. We weren't just changing diapers,
like childhood wounds and
birth
experiences.
Yeah, we were ready to see how far we could go. Well, we only had them for an hour and a half. We had a 2.5-day course designed, but we only got them for an hour and a half because it was just, how do we get our foot in the door?
Yeah.
And it was brilliant. We just carefully took them by the hand and took them on a little journey. And it was brilliant, really great. And I did an exit interview afterwards. And 5 out of the 6 said if they had been told in advance what was going to happen, they never would have showed up.
Oh.
And all 6 of them said, I'm so grateful we came.
Right.
Because they got in touch with something that they didn't even know was there.
Mm-hmm.
It was
So
brilliant.
since then, what other stuff have you come up with to do?
Well, speak at conferences, big conferences, and then run workshops for midwives and doulas and workshops. Because what I realized is that trying to find a dad here and a dad there was kind of mission impossible.
Yeah.
However, all the midwives, doulas, and educators, they're in touch with dads every day. So we designed courses to run for the birth support people. Then they can, because, what do you do with the bloke in the room? They weren't given a course in their training on what do you do with dad,
Yeah.
So, they had questions like, well, if he's over there playing on his phone, what does that mean? If he's falling asleep, what does that mean?
Yeah.
If he's always leaving the room, what does that mean? Fear, and fear.
Yeah. Avoidance and confusion.
Yeah. And so what does he need? Welcome. What he needs is welcome.
Mm-hmm.
If a dad knows he's welcome in the room and in the family, because there's not a big history of welcome for dads.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the most crucial point that I really drove home, is find different ways to welcome him.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure he knows that this is his place.
Yeah, that's great. And how's the book been received?
Good. I published in England first and then in the United States after, because I was living in England.
Mm-hmm.
And more women have bought it than men.
Yeah. They buy it to give to their husband or to kind of...
Well, both. To give to their husband, and then also because they were educators and doulas and that sort of thing, also for themselves to integrate better. How do I work with this guy?
Mm-hmm.
What's the best way to support him?
Yeah. I get a lot of women listeners as well. And I always wonder, are they showing it to their husbands? Are they listening so they can talk to them? Or are they just really enjoy the idea of an engaged dad that they can just listen to?
Well, all of that.
Yeah.
A friend of mine who's a birth professional said it's the best little book ever written for a pregnant woman.
Interesting. Wow.
Because if dad's getting support, then mom gets support.
Right.
Because that's the bottom line. And the amount of change that goes on from conception onward for the couple.
Yeah.
And it's it can be a challenge because it touches all those tender places in us, and especially the ones that may not have been cared for in their own life.
Yeah.
So those then become a little sore, a little tender spot.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is that if you name it, whatever it is, if you name it, then the awareness goes, oh, okay, I had a feeling about that the other day. So maybe there's a way for me to resolve that because now it's been named. I know what that is and how to work with that. Mm-hmm. That's so brilliant, important.
Yeah. What are some of the feelings like that often come up for men who are partners are pregnant?
Not good enough.
Yeah.
I've one guy was doing I've done what I call a father love tour. So I did one in Colorado and one in Florida a few years ago. And I had an auditorium. I would do a workshop for professionals and then an evening for parents. So I had this evening and I don't know, there was maybe 50 people in the audience. And this one guy stands up and says, he said, when my baby was born, I held it in my hands and I looked into the eyes and I said, who is this green-eyed monster? He could not connect.
Yeah.
He was holding it. And he was a therapist. He was holding the baby, wanting to love the baby, but something inside was just not connecting. Well, I felt like he gave me permission. Yeah. So I asked him, what was your relationship like with your father?
Yeah.
And he said, oh, he told me I was a worthless shit and would never amount to anything. Well,
there you go.
That was an imprint, And so it took him about 9 months. And then one day, boom, his heart opened. And that was it. He was a full-on dad from that point on. But it took him a while, and he had to really surrender and dig. And
men aren't taught to have feelings. Emotions, feelings aren't something that men are really encouraged to express. Anger comes out and maybe is allowed in some places, but all the others, not so much. And there's no more sensation, emotion, feeling than having a baby, seeing your wife go through birth, being in charge. I mean, there's just holding my little girls. There's no feeling like it. Yeah. So, if we're not trained to have feelings at all, now we're overwhelmed with feelings. It makes sense that some men would just block it entirely, shut down.
And then the dynamic of the relationship between the partners changes. Mm-hmm. We now have what was a couple relationship is now a three-way relationship, even before the baby's born.
Right.
Psychically and energetically, there's a third party in this relationship. That multiplies everything, even if the baby's not visible yet. On the emotional side, it's all provocative potentially, good, bad, or indifferent,
Yeah.
And so it's really important that they communicate with each other. They stay in touch. They stay in tune. I'm feeling this. I'm feeling that. I want to run away. I'm scared, whatever, all of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And, all sorts of dynamics in their relationship change, of course, as you know.
Joe, scoot a half inch toward the mic. Beautiful. Y'all are doing great.
Yeah, I've discovered that I've found all the ways I had mommy issues with her as well. Like her attention's on the baby, even before she was born, and it's not as much on me. And like that's a common thing I see.
Oh yeah,
through men dealing with. Is that something you found too, and dealing with men that they feel sort of jealous?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, it's like naming it. If
it's normal. If
it's named, that it's normal, it happens all the time, then they don't have to go into guilt. Because guilt is the first stop on the bus, It's like, unless they know, oh, this has happened to other men. Yeah, like most of them, that it really comes up. And so they sort of get absolution just by naming it and then talking about it,
Yeah. What are some really important messages for pregnant men? I call them pregnant men. Is that a thing? I know you're not supposed to say that, but it's an easy lexicon to say.
I think I mentioned that the midwife we had for our first birth and our first prenatal visit, she looks me right in the eye and she goes, Patrick, consider that you're also pregnant.
Yeah. That's the message I'm trying to say. I own the pregnancy.
Yeah.
It's not my body, but it's my baby.
So I was pregnant with a family.
Yeah.
Right. Not the baby. I was pregnant with the family. And I totally, boom, that worked for me.
Yeah. You're birthing a family, not just a baby.
Yeah.
Her and the baby and the other babies.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So advice for them. What are some kind of important takeaways from the book for them?
Leave the ego at the door. It's really a process of surrender.
Yeah.
The more you surrender, the more you just open your heart and love the space and love the mechanics of it. And whether it's the diaper or the extra duty or, so many things are kind of piled on an expectant couple and a new couple.
Yeah.
And I don't go for this 50-50 thing. Oh no, it's 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
In my opinion, you just don't count. Don't like to split something down the middle. No.
Yeah. What is it evidence that ego is in the way? How does a man know if his ego is interfering?
If he's in avoidance, if he's spacing out through one way or the television, telephone, leaving, drinking, all that sort of stuff. That's all avoidance mechanisms and indications of fear and insecurity.
Yeah.
It's really straightforward. However, again, unless it's pointed out, unless it's brought to the surface, then the guy's kind of handicapped. He's kind of, trying to figure it out, but not having a way to, because not that many have, a mentor, someone they can call and go, hey, this is going on. What can I do? Or what do you do? Or,
I don't know if it's ego. I find myself in survival mode and like, just got to get through it. Just got to get it over with. Maybe there's a little bit of resentment, like, oh, I have to do this again.
Right.
Or there's like, this one sense of like deserving to crash or, watch TV or drink or whatever, because of how hard it is. And so is that ego or is that just like that normal exhaustion?
Well, I guess you don't need to label it as ego, but surrender is the key.
It's tightness, I guess. There's some part of me that is not enjoying it anymore and is feeling like a victim to being a dad. Like, oh, the kid's asking for this, or my wife's asking for this, or there's all this work, or why is it so hard? As if I didn't like create this and as if it wasn't like the best thing ever.
Well, being present. If you're present with exactly what's happening and welcoming it no matter what it is. What, another shitty diaper?
Yeah.
I just changed it 10 minutes ago, but surrender to the process. Be absolutely present with exactly what's in front of you.
Yeah.
Because anything else will create upset,
Yeah. Yeah. I try to turn the challenges like a heavy workout.
Right.
Like, like I wouldn't complain about the weights being heavy at the gym. Like I went, that's what they're for. I like lifting heavy weights. So it's like, okay, if I'm whining about this hard thing, I'm like, oh no, this is the weight of, I'm lifting to become stronger, to become better, to become a better man, better father, and try to like enjoy lifting the weight rather than suffer through it.
Right. Well, what during the labor, my advice to guys is do nothing, but do it really well.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's a dichotomy. There's a paradox in birth, because normally the man's lifting the weights, right? Doing the heavy lifting in life, doing this and that. And the woman's doing the more subtle things, right? Well, there's a role reversal that occurs in birth, in labor, because the woman is using the big energy. She's like on it. She's got to be. Her whole body, every cell in her body is working it, and the hormones are pushing it, right? So she's having a baby. What am I supposed to be doing? You're actually flipping to the other side now.
To hold space.
Yeah, hold space. Do nothing. Do it really well.
Yeah.
There's things to do. Rub the back, get the water, whatever, all that stuff. But it's not your turn to input.
Yeah.
Your support is different than input.
Mm-hmm. It's more
so
like
that
being ready because she wants something, or also sometimes there's a need to defend if in a hospital situation.
Yeah.
But if you're not paying attention, if you're not ready, it'd be hard to do that.
Yeah, the hospital is a challenge for guys because you're in this incredibly strange, foreign, invasive environment.
Yeah.
You may not know a single person other than your wife, your partner, but all of this stuff, how do you get by with this?
It'd be so disempowering.
Yeah, well, you go get a medical degree in 9 months,
Yeah. Yeah, it's full of fear. They're all scared. They're all like planting all these fears in you. They make it seem like you don't have any choices, even though you have a lot of choices. Yeah, it's awful.
tough. It's really tough.
We planned a home birth and ended up in a C-section in a hospispittal.
Right.
So it was like we had not intended to be there, and had everything planned we had the water tub, we had everything, and then it didn't work out. So it was really very stressful.
That first class that we had. The second class we had, one of the guys came back with his new baby. This was several months after the first class. And he's there with his new baby, and they had this glorious water birth with a doula and incense and candles and soft music. And it was just profound. And he's telling the story to the rest of the class, right? And then he was there for about an hour. And he said, first time he'd been out with his baby, too. So he said, I think it's time to head for home. So he took off. About 10 minutes later, another guy showed up with his baby from that first class. Well, they ended up with a C-section, but they had gotten enough awareness through the class they took. Like I have them put yes on a piece of paper and put it all over their house. Yes. Work with the energy you're given. Surrender to this process as long as you feel that it's the right thing to do in this moment. So they put yes all over the apartment. And when the labor went south in a different direction than they expected, they kept working with that energy, the affirmation that they were being guided to the right outcome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they had a lovely experience, even though it was contrary to what they thought they wanted. But so I couldn't have paid 2 people to come to that class and demonstrate the beauty of life, and the wonder of birth, however it shows up.
Yeah.
Because it's so important, that acceptance.
That's really great. I have a Birth 101 episode for men. So if you guys are in this spot, you want to prepare for all the different, there's stuff on home birth, there's stuff on C-sections, there's stuff on hospital births, kind of everything you need to know on that. So
that's on your website?
That's on the podcast.
Podcast. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So birth, so that's helpful. Just sort of everything you need. It's like 30 minutes of birth expertise.
That's fabulous because we don't know. We don't know what we don't know.
So confusing. So many choices. Yeah. But I love the yes energy because I think I saw myself as a protector, especially in the hospital, which is sort of like no energy. It's like, what are you doing here? Get out.
Yeah.
No, don't take my baby. No, you can't have it. No, you can't, And so I got in this big fight with the anesthesiologist because they wouldn't let our doula or our photographer in the operating room for the C-section,
Oh,
which was just absurd. Like they should have let him in,
yeah.
but we didn't have a care plan and we didn't have a doc. We thought we were gonna have a home birth,
Right.
and so like I was just so mad at him. And the more I think about that negotiation, like the more I think if I have had yes energy, like, yes, I hear that you're wanting to protect my wife and that's so great.
Yeah.
And I understand, please tell me your concerns and how can we address them? And like, if I hadn't been like combative,
Right.
it just meant him, he just dug his heels in and I dug my heels in. Of course he's going to win.
Right. You're on his turf.
Yeah. And so like, it's interesting that the yes, that's a really good way to think about it.
I've gone up to women in grocery stores, pregnant women, big bellies, right? And if it feels right in that moment, I'll go up and congratulate them and big smile and how wonderful and aren't you fortunate? I said, can I give you one little piece of advice? Sure, I'd love it. This is her first baby, right?
Yeah.
And I've done this a dozen times. When you're in labor, say yes. Say yes to every cell in your body because resistance is pain. Yeah. No is pain. Yes opens up. It allows the body to hear your intention, right? So you're saying yes to letting the cervix open, letting everything flow, because anything else is like this. It's grip fists and it's no and it's restriction. And what happens to the body when you do that? It shuts down. It won't let the baby out if you're in that place.
Wow. It's
Really
it's
important.
A great lesson for all of parenting. I mean, ultimately, like everything is yes. Even if it's setting a boundary, even if I am saying no, I'm not even really saying no. I'm really just saying yes to something else. Like, no, I'm saying yes to your balanced blood sugar instead of you eating the next treat. Or like if I tell my daughter, no, you can't watch TV versus like, hey, how about we go play? How about we go outside? How about we, it's like very different, the yes energy versus no energy. And I think that is like the definition of surrender is like, accept, surrender,
Absolutely.
say yes, move towards the thing, not away from the thing.
One of the things that came up when I was writing my book was, it was in the afterword. Humanity cannot invent a drug that can work better than a mother's body can manufacture, nor a knife that is sharper than her instinctual nature. Leave her the heck alone.
Such a good quote.
Because any intervention will interfere with the process. I mean, any intervention, even asking questions, asking her some question about this or that. It's like, no, let her be instinctual.
Yeah. And that's why the doulas are so important because they know how to be with her and get her what she needs without it feeling like an intervention.
Yeah.
They're not intervening. They're just, along for the ride and supporting her. So, but it's hard for us to know how to do that. So that's where I think doula is really important.
Yeah. I'm a doodla.
Are you a doula?
I've been in a lot of births.
Yeah, that's great. I had another male doula on the show, actually.
But I spell it differently.
Yeah.
Doodla.
Yeah, it's a good word. Dad love, or doula dad. Yeah, that's great. So before we move beyond pregnancy, any other advice for pregnant men?
Love her to bits. Love her in every way you can find, because that's the key. What would love do? That's the question to ask. What would love do in this situation?
Yeah, that's a nice one. Yes, love. And then dad's role in birth. We've got do nothing very well. You also talk a little bit about maybe protecting her in a hospital situation. What else for birth?
That's what I call protecting the cave. I have a conference presentation that I do, big stage thing with PowerPoint and all that, and it's called Protecting the Cave. And it's like, it used to be, dad's outside with a club keeping the wild animals away from the cave, right? And so, now we don't have any wild animals at the birth anymore or trying to eat the child or anything, so job's done, right? Oh no. Then I bring on, scalpels and drips and hospital beds and visually on the presentation. And I go, he's got another cave that he's got to protect now, the womb, and it's a big dilemma. Yeah. Because guys don't like to feel hopeless, helpless, and powerless. Nobody does, but guys in particular, because they're doers,
Yeah.
And so it's a big challenge.
Mm-hmm. Now
So-
the animals have degrees and titles and laws and rules
Yeah.
and regulations.
And they know more than
fear tactics and yeah, it's great, and they're already scared, and so it's
Yeah, and it's
tough.
important to ask if they want to do some kind of an intervention. First, bring it to you before they bring it to her,
Mhm.
and ask what are the possible outcomes if we don't do what you're requesting. You want to take it a little further down the road, so it's not just here, come with me. No, what's down that road?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, it's a great piece of advice. And
informed decision making.
in the birth 101, I talk about all the different interventions they might want to do and what the risks are, and the cascade of intervention. You start with one, it leads to another, it leads to another, leads to another, leads to a C-section.
Yeah.
It's like this like very well documented pattern that's like, oh, we're just going to give a little Pitocin, and and then you've got all the way to a C-section, like where you would have just skipped the Pitocin, you would have had a natural birth.
There's hospitals in Brazil that have 90% C-section rate.
Wow,
90%.
that's scary,
and that's not medically necessary.
Yeah,
really medically necessary, 3 to 5%.
Right.
Is all that really, when you get down to it.
Yeah. Yeah, we were frank breech, couldn't get it out. Technically, we could have birthed, like if the right practitioner could have birthed it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that counts as medically necessary or not. We couldn't find someone who would, because they often have to be resuscitated. And our midwife was just like, I've done it and it's too scary. I can't do it. So we would have had to drive to Dallas or San Antonio. We found midwives in both cities that would do it, but no one else would do frank breech. So
yeah, it takes experience and confidence.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So.
And not everybody's presented with that in their training or has the hands-on skills to be able to support that.
Yeah.
And
I suspect it's fairly similar once the baby comes. Yes, energy, be prepared to feel.
Yeah.
I guess it's less do nothing well. It's sort of do everything, and do a shitty job.
Let mom be horizontal and you do everything.
Do everything and none of it's going to be perfect. So do nothing well during the birth and do everything not well after the birth.
When people ask about the dad's class, they said, we're not here to learn how to change diapers. The first time there's a blowout, you'll learn how to change a diaper.
Yeah, for sure. So what else about that first 3 months? Like,
breastfeeding, that is such a huge topic of mine. I have a presentation I do on it because dads don't understand.
Yeah.
They think it's about food.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
There is so much that goes on so many levels in that breastfeeding process. The hormonal transference, there's a transfers from the baby to the mother as well as the mother to the baby in that process of breastfeeding. And so that influences the next batch of milk that comes out. All these things happen. And there's this bonding, of course, thing that happens when that baby is right there with mom. And I encourage dads, take off your shirt and go skin to skin with that baby. Because you'll get hormone juice out of that. You'll get the good stuff, just like mom's getting, different, but, you'll be getting some of that.
Yeah.
And that's really important because so many dads just don't know where to connect, how to connect with. And I actually look at it as a father needs to adopt his child, a type of adoption, because it hasn't lived in his body for 9 months. And he can, talk to the baby and, do all those surrounding things that support mom and stuff. But still, he doesn't have the kind of direct relationship that the mother has. So it's a type of adoption where he's going to go, okay, this is this new relationship. How do I want it to be? How can I make it as wonderful as possible?
Yeah.
Because in my book, I talk about, imagine, sometime in the future, 18 years from now, and somebody asks your son, well, what was your dad like when you were growing up? Well, guess what? You have the ability to write that script right now, 18 years before the kid asks him that question.
Yeah. Yeah, that's powerful.
Because that imprint, it will be there. It will be there.
Yeah, that's great. And I have a daughter, and I often think about, like, man, she's going to end up with, or even if she, likes men, but there'll be some men in her life or
Yeah.
some
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of partner, and
Sure.
I'm the imprint for that.
Yeah.
And so it's like I could try to be the man that
Yeah.
she would,
Yeah.
that I would want her to marry, that I'd want her to be around.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
And the same thing with the woman. We get our gender roles from our parents.
Mhm.
We just do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a biological thing. It's not even a thinking thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
That's
know?
crazy.
And so, yeah, that's precious.
Yeah. And I do have an episode on breastfeeding as well, on like everything you know about breastfeeding and what a man's role is and how he can support, what to do, what not to do, how to avoid the slippery slope into formula and
Yeah.
weaning too early. You know, it's every mom's
Mm.
choice, but there's a lot of things you can do to kind of set it up for success early so that you
Yeah.
don't end up on formula.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about more of this adoption. How does a man adopt his baby?
From his heart. You know, it's all heart centered, and it's surrender. You know, it's that surrender where you just melt into that child and go, okay, we're in this together. You know, how can we best support each other? And one of the phrases that I have, and I made a Fathers to Be toolkit when I was in England. And in that toolkit was a little ball, a squeeze ball, a stress ball, right? And on it says, my baby loves me. From the womb even. My baby loves me. Because love is reciprocal. I mean, I can love that candle, but the candle's not going to love me back, right? But loving your baby in the womb, understanding that is real. That is a real thing. So if you acknowledge that, again, it's for information. Having that in advance, then you can start connecting in that way, knowing that we have a relationship where I love you and you love me, even though we haven't seen each other yet. Because love is not through the eyes.
Yeah.
So my baby loves me. I think that's just,
Maybe they chose us.
Oh,
maybe they have
absolutely.
seen us, you know, and they
Oh,
picked
yeah.
us out.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Oh,
like
yeah.
think about that. Like, well, you picked me. I can't. You know, she knows what she's gonna get. 'Cause she picked it.
She signed up for
Yeah,
this.
she knows. So I can't really do it wrong. You know, she wants whatever I got.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
I believe that there is a contract, an agreement, whatever you want to call it. There are unknown things that occur that create relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. How about the dad-mom relationship? Obviously, that you talked a little about that. How do you work with men on maintaining that connection? So many divorces. I mean, I can't believe how many divorces I'm seeing happen in that they have, like, especially the second kid. It's like the second kid turns about like 2. Now they have like a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and then, like, all these marriages are falling apart. So, so how do we avoid that?
Well, the way I put it is, dads know where the door is.
Right. Yeah.
I say that with a tear in my eye. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, a lot of it has to do with them not being embraced and welcomed and accepting and surrendering to the process. And within the relationship between the mother and father, they've got to put some intention into that, you know, whether it's a date night or just cuddles, or, you know, they've got to, it's not always about the baby. It tends to go that way with new children. With any children, they can be the focal point of everything that happens. But at a certain point, you got to close the door and, you know, have your own relationship. It's really important to kindle that, you know, to restart that fire and keep that connection going, because it will slip away if you ignore it. You know, and to think there's something better, or this isn't right, this isn't it, this isn't it.
Yeah.
Nah.
Is that what happened with you in your first marriage?
Well, we were together in like 12 years, something like that. Yeah. So quite a long time before and after.
So post-baby, like, so you had the kid. How old was your first one?
The youngest was 6 when we split up. So the youngest was 10.
So you got past the crazy toddler time.
Oh, yeah.
So at least you weren't just giving up then. But
no.
12 years, you just figured out it wasn't right anymore. Yeah. That's a bummer. So you had 2 with her.
Yeah.
And then you have a third?
No,
that was 2. Okay, that's right. You have the 2. And how old are they now?
They are like 46 and 49.
Wow.
Yeah.
You have grandkids?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, how many grandkids?
I got 3 grandkids. And then from a second marriage, I've got 2 bonus sons.
Oh,
I don't do it's a step thing.
yeah.
It's bonus.
Right.
It's a plus instead of a minus,
Mhm.
right?
Sure.
And then I've got I think there's 6 grandchildren on that side of things.
Wow. That's amazing.
Oh, and there's even one great grandchild.
Yeah.
Well, they live on the East Coast, so I don't see them much, although I stay in touch.
And so did you get to be involved in the pregnancy, birth experience of the grandkids?
No, because we were living in England at
Yeah.
the time.
So even giving advice or sending them the
Oh,
books
yeah.
or
Yeah. Neither of my sons have read my book. I'm certain of that.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Well, it came out after their
I
kids
see.
were born.
It was too late for
But
them.
still, they're, you've got to walk very carefully when your kids are having families and relationships and all that. And I've made it a top priority to not interfere, but also not hold back.
Mm.
I mean, if I was to hold back a gift,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be right either.
Right. Can't push it on them. But
Yeah, but I've got to let them know what I know,
Yeah. Yeah. What? So the book came out a while ago. What have you learned since then? What if you were to edit it or whatever? What are some stuff you'd add in?
Well, I've been back in the States now 12 years.
Yeah.
And I've hardly done any of the work since I got here. However, about a year ago, I came up, a couple of years actually, because I did this in some of my stage work, a title for a book and I want to have a more sociological movement, not just dads, but called Parents, Architects of the Future.
Cool.
Because they are.
It's like a community approach or
Yeah, it's a whole sociological movement and it's not just the parents. All of society has to understand the value and importance. We could transform culture in 2 generations if everybody just surrendered to the process and said, okay, what does this new family need? How can we best, there's no hunger, there's no violence, there's no homelessness, we handle all of those things for new babies coming in. And guess what?
They all go away.
There's no fear, anger, sadness, resentment. All that stuff goes away because those holes have been filled with love.
What would be the call to action of that book? What are you going to ask people to do?
Well, it's like I said, it's for everybody. It's not. This is not just for parents.
Right.
We've got it takes a village. We've got to understand that we're all in this together. And it doesn't matter if you're never going to have children or if you're, any of that doesn't matter. How do we frame our society so that we have what that part of society needs without question? Income's not a problem. Shelter's not a problem. Food's not a problem. All those things are handled. Then that totally takes the stress off of that relationship and that mother and that baby. Because it just deserves to be flourished in love rather than all the conditions and limitations that society throws at you.
To be a highly revolutionary change to create that. Yeah. I think in the meantime, understanding that without it, parenting is going to continue to be really hard, and there's some compassion to be had for that. Like we have the least friendly parenting circumstances ever in history right now, isolated homes and media and jobs and the childcare and the education system, and like all of it is sort of conspiring to make it like basically the worst time to be a parent.
Well, speaking of media, that would films that represent a new possible paradigm would be the best because that's where people's attention is, right?
Yeah.
A major motion picture that just lays it out without preaching it, but demonstrates it.
Yeah, like a utopic future where this is what it could look like in a modern society using technology. We're not going back to the tribal days,
right?
But like, what would it look like?
Yeah, it's got to be contextual so people can relate to it.
Yeah. Nobody'd watch that because it'd be too positive.
Well, that's the trick. You've got to frame it in such a way that they want to watch it because it looks like it's something else. It's almost like the Barbie movie.
Yes.
When I first heard about that, I went, "What? Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
And it was nothing like what I'd presumed.
Yes. So you have to be satire, is what you're saying. Satire or like sci-fi, but it like sneaks it in.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know. I haven't come up with a script yet. But.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. I like this much better than the second book already. So just go straight for the movie. But yeah, there's a lot of macro, approaches and a lot of things non-parents can do to support parents, but at the very least have compassion for how hard it is to have kids. It's very hard, but it's also the most important job.
Oh, yeah.
Changing the world, changing the future. Like you said, the architects of the future. That's what we are.
Yes.
What a privilege. It's a responsibility, but a privilege. So
yep. It's both.
You can adopt our kids. We can say yes all the time. I think doing nothing well is also a big.
Yeah.
That's all my daughter wants. She doesn't want me to do anything. She doesn't want me to be there with her.
Right. Yeah.
I get bored.
Right.
And it's like, so, but it's like, if I can, it's mostly because there's so much feeling.
Right. Well, my father's to be partner, Elmer Postal, who lives in England, there were times when he was just, and here's this little kid wants to just play with the train or the cars or whatever, and he's got work to do. It's trying to drag him away. And it was such a struggle to just come and sit down and be present. This is more important than that film you were going to edit. This is more important, until that child is satisfied with that framework in that time, in that moment. You know?
Yeah, I think the yes framework can help me with that, because it's like I want to say yes to her. There are other things I want to do. So sometimes it's okay to do things in the world and to go to work, to create.
Yeah.
And so, but I want to be saying yes to that and rather than no to the daughter. And I think if we're saying no, the risk is we use work to avoid connecting with the kid because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's where I think if we were in the yes mindset of like, do I really want to do work now, or do I really want to be with my daughter? Is it just uncomfortable? And, but as more I do that, the more I crave time with her, the more I'm like, I want to stay home with her. I want to go to the thing, Sometimes I feel guilty also. She's sad because she wants more energy. So I have to wonder, am I feeling guilty? Do I really want to go to this thing, or am I avoiding? Am I trying to make somebody else happy? And so... Yeah, yes to myself, yes to her.
Yeah, guilt is really the bad guy in parenting. It really.
Mom guilt, dad guilt. It's huge.
Tough.
It's the opposite of yes, right?
Oh, absolutely.
That's the no,
absolutely.
The condemnation.
Yeah. And it's a lie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so much of those things come from our history, our family history. It comes, and it could have been a couple of generations back anyway, but it's been passed down. That's the family jewels as far as I'm concerned, that kind of stuff.
That's right. What are the tools you teach for, healing some of those past wounds, being more present?
Well, I have there's tools in the book that are things like affirmations and forgiveness and gratitude and things like that you learn to work into the relationships. And yet as you go on those are nice to have, but also you've got to be juggling the balls. I got the work, I got the play, I got the meeting with friends, I got all those things. So, working with a couple, the two together, giving each other grace. Grace is so important.
Yeah.
And just loosening the grip on life, trusting life, trust the process.
Yeah. I don't know anybody that doesn't have some kind of childhood trauma, and it's going to show up in parenting. So that was one of my biggest surprises of being a dad, was like, oh, I'm going to all my trauma, there were wounds I didn't know I had. I knew I had some, but I didn't realize it was like, there's no more. I'm going to heal those someday.
Right.
Like, that's today. It's going to be triggered every day until I heal it. And if I don't heal them, I pass it to her.
Yeah.
And then she's going to pass it to her again. And so I have a whole episode on reparenting ourselves, how we reparent our inner child.
Right.
And how another one on trauma. Another one on why our kids drive us crazy, which is basically the same thing. They drive us crazy because we have unhealed spots that they're poking. So I think that's one of the most critical things for a dad to realize that he's signing up for.
Yeah.
Is like, you're signing up to heal all your wounds, which is what a gift and how awful.
I did a lot of rebirthing breath work. Are you familiar with rebirthing?
Not really. Tell us about rebirthing.
It's a deep breathing process. You just lie down and breathe, and you've got a guide next to you, not a therapist necessarily, but someone just to keep you breathing and hold the space. And it's called rebirthing because many people re-experience their own birth. They were there. Why wouldn't they remember it? And they do. It turns out when the shields are let down.
Yeah.
And so that's where you can get to the wounds and resolve them all in one process. It's like an hour to 2 process. And just the breath opens this doorway. And after going through whatever awareness, or sometimes the body does strange things or whatever, but the end result is love. The end result is peace, because you have breathed out wherever that was because it's stored physiologically.
Yeah.
It's stored emotionally, it's stored psychically, it's stored physiologically. And so you got to cleanse all that.
You do that before having a baby?
Oh yeah, well, throughout life. I mean, our workshops we ran in Europe, everybody did it.
Yeah,
pregnant or not pregnant didn't matter, because we're all working on excavating that stuff so we can have more love and freedom in our life.
It's something you do once and heal it all, or you do it's like a practice you do?
Yeah, it's a
periodically.
practice.
Yeah. Cool. I'll learn more about that.
It's really lovely, because you've got this guide, but it's not like a therapist. It's not like hypnosis where somebody's taking you deeper and deeper. You're totally in control. All you're doing is breathing.
Yeah.
But the unconscious, becomes conscious.
Yeah.
And you just breathe it out. You just stay with the breath.
Okay.
And there may be times when you feel fear, or you may, different kinds of things happen. But as long as you're in a safe environment and you've got somebody next to you that holds the space, then it's a cleansing.
Cool.
It's purification.
Wow. So we've got your book, we've got Rebirthing. What other resources for dads, new dads you recommend?
Camaraderie.
Mm-hmm.
Really having other dads to talk to about it, because it's so valuable.
Yeah.
Because they're going through the same thing.
It's like number
Maybe
one.
you did it on Tuesday and they did it on Friday, but you're both going through the same thing, And that is just, you can't replace that.
Yeah. It's the first thing. I told men to interview. I interviewed 3 dads. But not when we were pregnant. I was like, tell me about your birth experience. What did you do? How was it for you? What is it like being a dad now? And those interviews turned into essentially, like, I can call them for anything now. They got to talk about it. Almost nobody had ever asked them.
Right.
They never really been asked about it.
Yeah.
So at that point they were like, okay, I haven't really thought about it, but there's a lot I learned. And if you need anything else, call me back. And I know their story enough to know what to ask about.
Yeah.
So that's like an easy story. But men are like, how do I build community? How do I find men? Well, like, find 3 dads and ask them to interview them. They're definitely going to say yes, because who doesn't want to talk about that?
Yeah, really. Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's like that's where you start, and now you've got 3 dads.
Yeah,
and you keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and something more than football to talk about.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's great. Well, your book's on Amazon. It's on Audible for audio.
Fathers2be.org is my website.
Nice.
Yeah, Audible has it.
Yep.
Fathers to Be handbook.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. Well, it's incredible the work you've done. Sounds like you have an amazing family and children, grandchildren that are your legacy, and all these babies to be born. Like, people stopping you in the airport at this point, being like, "You made my birth for me." Yeah. That's so cool. Well, I really appreciate that. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing this with us, and definitely going to give your book out to my pregnant friends.
Great. And thank you for the good work that you do. It's so important, and it's kind of rare still. I mean, it was really rare 20 years ago when you started it. Yeah. But it's still pretty rare, and dads don't know what they don't know. Mm-hmm. That's the bottom line. Yeah. And awareness. Yes. Awareness.
And say yes. You say yes to everything. So with that, say yes to subscribing to the channels. It helps me reach more dads. Share this with other dads in your life, and please drop in the comments, your takeaways from this, what you got from this, maybe one thing you can say yes to today. I'd love to hear that. And stay dedicated.